I'll turn this on for the masses. Okay. I'd like to call the Finance Administration Committee of May 28, 2018 to order. Mayor Easton sent her regrets. Councillor Ranjima also. I could say something, but that's on, so I shan't. Confirmation of the agenda. Councillors Brunet or Thompson, are you okay with the agenda, or would you like to move anything around? Would you like to have report number 2 first and number 1 second?
No, I'm okay the way it is.
Okay. We have no delegations this evening. There are no items of correspondence for this evening. So, delving right in, TR 18-12, 2018 first quarter financial report. Are there any questions from committee members regarding the report? And before I call the question, I was talking to Angela this afternoon, thinking on Appendix A, if we put a percentage change column in there going forward, because what it doesn't really, there's no measurables. You can't measure anything against anything right now. And the other question was with respect to the 2 that had finished, and Ms. Stefani said that because the levy amounts would stay there, that we would be taking less amounts for reserve. So in essence, on Appendix B, oh, well, that one doesn't work because we go over. So never mind. So we've got no movers or shakers here. Do a trade. That's a pretty watch. Is that rose gold? It's nice. Merci beaucoup. I will. Councillor Brunet, yes.
Thank you, Chair Patrick. Just very quickly, I did have one question through you to Angela or whoever wants to answer it. I just was curious, when you look at this and, you know, these things have been budgeted and money's allocated, but we know even halfway through the year that, you know, some of these things aren't going to happen. And I use, as an example, I use the Victoria Avenue water main Queenie crossing. You know, so we've got 2.240, you know, sitting there, but we didn't get our OSA funding, if I understand correctly. So unless there's something happening that I'm not aware of, this project is probably not going to take place in 2018. So through you, I'm just wondering, so does that money just go back into the general coffers, or is there an opportunity to, you know, rejig that money if there was a project that we wanted done? I'm just curious.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, that project is funded from reserve funds and other, which is debt, long-term debt, and grant. But since we didn't get the grant, and that project was listed in the budget as contingent on receiving the grant, then no monies would be removed from the reserves, and we wouldn't be applying for any debentures.
So it was contingent on the funding?
It was.
Okay, thank you.
Moved by Councillor Brunet, seconded by Councillor Thompson, that report TR 18-12, the 2018 Q1 financial report as of March 31st, 2018 be received as information. All those in favor? And that is carried. TR 18-13, the 2017 Developmental Charge Reserve Fund Statement. Are there any questions from committee members regarding this report? Or, Angela, do you want to, or Terry, I mean, do you guys want to just weigh in on this and give us a little short synopsis? Because it's, I mean, it's quite lengthy with a bunch of charts there.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, Terry provided this report based on the 2017 year-end balances for the development charges. This is an annual requirement for the development charge through the Development Charge Act. So there's 4 schedules, I believe. The first schedule is just showing what the reserve balances were at the end of the year, what the balances were in each of the categories along the top. The second schedule, Schedule B, is providing the closing balances to the right again, but showing it a little bit differently. So it's breaking out the roads, because under roads, there are 3 different categories: roads, depots, public works, rolling stock, vehicles, and equipment. So for each of the categories, it gives it a little bit more of a breakdown as to what we're carrying for each of those items, again, tying into Schedule A. The Schedule C is what it provides here is when we have development projects and they're doing some work on our behalf that are DC related, they receive DC credits. So these are the 2 developments right now that we're currently holding at the end of 2017 that are holding DC credits. And the last one is Schedule D. And what it is these are the projects that had a DC component in it, not 100% necessarily funded from DCs, but had some funding from DC. So what it does is it provides you the total cost of the project that we budgeted. So for road rehab, we spent $1.5 million. And then we had the transfer, we had 135 coming out of DCs. And then on the next column to the right, it shows all the other funding that we did to fund that total project. So, and you see Drake again, 2.9, 552 is DC, and then the other funding required, future debt, water main, wastewater, and so on. Did that make sense?
It did. So thank you. So just, so knowing that we've got a deficit with respect to fire protection and indoor rec facilities, is that new development charges going to, are we going to play catch up in those 2 areas, or how do we expect to come to above negativity there?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, the goal is, so if you look at, I guess, Schedule B, if you're looking at fire specifically, you'll see we're actually carrying a negative in the fire facilities, vehicles, and fire equipment. So each category there, again, a little bit is due to each, the work set and the purchases we've been making in there. These, going into a negative balance is allowable. And, you know, we adjust for that. We can borrow from other reserves if need be. So that's not an issue. These DCs, when we're doing our next study, any credits are picked up in our next DC study and then are to be picked up in the future collections.
Because the indoor rec is also.
And that's because of the Fleming Center. So again,
Yeah,
we've
no.
expended more than what we had available at the time, but as we collect more fees.
But I mean, if you know, if, God forbid, there was a catastrophic flood tomorrow and the Jordan Arena fell down, we would need DCs to be able to apply to a new one, would we? Because we're in a negative balance, or?
There's actually something else limiting us in DCs, because in DCs, we have a service threshold, and it's for growth. So if you're replacing that building, it's not DC eligible because it's already existing. So replacing it is not a service level increase. It's if the building were to be bigger, say 50% bigger,
I was gonna say,
that growth component would be DC eligible. In the new study, what we're going to be doing is it'll identify the service level that we are capped at, and what it's supposed to do is, this is the service that you've been providing all along. So this is the amount that you can apply for future growth. You can't say we want to go now this big, because we haven't been providing that level of service all along, so it caps how much we can actually apply for.
Very good.
Okay, and we will have that when we bring the DCs forward, the study forward. You'll have that information again through Watson.
That report TR 18-13 regarding the 2007 Development Charge Reserve Fund Statement be received as information. All those in favor? And that is carried. Are there any councillor inquiry? Any notices of motion? Any announcements? There are no closed session items for this evening's agenda. I call this meeting adjourned.